Hey, friend, welcome to the podcast. You Are Significant, the podcast where you will hear real stories from real people and we will get down into the truths of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Now, let's get down to it. Hey, friend. Welcome back to You Are Significant. This episode is going to be a difficult subject and one that I really didn't want to talk about, but I believe it is very needed. It is something that I believe all of us will face at one time or another in our lifetime. And sometimes it's going to be necessary in order to get to good things. And other times it is simply going to be part of life's journey. So we're going to talk about loneliness. And this is something that can hit hard. Sometimes it's because the loss of a loved one, the loss of a spouse, the loss of a parent, the loss of a good friend. Sometimes it can be because we're missing friends that we had because they moved or we moved, and it can create loneliness. Sometimes we are with the person we thought was going to be the person of our dreams, or maybe we still have our parent with us. But because of emotional isolation, we experience loneliness. That person is not emotionally able to nurture us. And so we find ourselves with someone, but terribly alone. We also can find loneliness inside of deployment. Military families experience immense loneliness and ache and heartache for their loved one who is deployed. That loved one is not with them, and it's supposed to be temporary. And at the same time, there's still the worry of loss, permanent loss. And so this type of loss can be very difficult. And then there are losses, maybe of the hardest kind, losses of what might have been or what once was. And I think of this loss in the case of infertility. My friends that have wanted to have children, to hold that baby in their arms, and yet they do not. And it just creates this hole that cannot be filled, and an immense loneliness for that child, a longing. And also, this type of longing can happen in the loss of a child during a miscarriage or a stillbirth, or even SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And there can be loneliness that comes around each year that date arrives, the date of the miscarriage, the date of the loss of that child. And there's loneliness, there's ache, there's heartache for what might have been. Loneliness can be one of the worst fears of mankind. In the beginning, God said, "It is not good for man to be alone." And so God made companionship. He created woman for the man. And he also gave the earth animals. They were not a suitable companion for man, and man named all of the animals. They all came before him one by one, and he named each one, and yet there was not a suitable companion among them. And so God caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep and took from him a rib and created woman. And so companionship among each other on this earth is how we were designed. We were designed with that need. And when it goes unfulfilled, it creates loneliness. And I believe this is evidence that it could be one of the greatest fears, one of the earliest fears that we have ever had to face. We were made for connection. So when we find ourselves in these situations that we've already talked about, it can lead to immense and unquenchable, it seems, loneliness. Loneliness that makes us feel a physical ache for that one that we so long for, and yet they are out of our reach, whether it's due to physical reasons or emotional reasons or even spiritual reasons. And so it says in Hebrews 13:5, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid." And that's in Isaiah 41, verse 10. Hebrews 13:5 says, "I will never leave you or forsake you." So when God is with us, we are never truly going to be alone. But it can seem so far away sometimes. And I can remember when there was a time when the girls were little and they were just getting to be adolescent age. My oldest daughter was probably 11 years old or so. And I can remember kneeling by my bed and praying and praying and praying and telling God, God, I just need a hug. I just need a hug. And at that moment, my oldest daughter walked in and she gave me a hug. And she didn't know the prayer I had prayed, but she was an answer to that prayer in that moment as I felt so very lonely and had such a terrible ache for the one who could not be with me in that moment. I also think of the song that says, "Be not dismayed, whate'er betide, God will take care of you." And as I think about that song, I'm so thankful for the the refuge that God has been for me when I have felt very alone. It was 2006 and 2007 when my husband deployed to Iraq, and the girls were very, very young, and we moved into our house not very long at all before my husband deployed. And it was definitely an ache that was in my heart as I missed him. And I can remember just deciding to go to sleep. And I would be tense. I would know that the doors were locked. It was dark. My three little girls were in their beds. And yet I miss him very much. And he was far, far away. And I would just decide to go to sleep. And I'm very thankful that God has given me that ability to decide to go to sleep. And it's in these kind of moments of loneliness that we can feel very insignificant and very small and realize just how much we need God. And, I think this is one of the things that leads people to suicide, where they just feel so lonely and so unseen and so unnoticed and forgotten and uncared for. And it just presses in continually in greater measure. And the relief comes. The relief does come when we allow ourselves to feel close to God and we allow ourselves to bask in His love and remember that God does care about me. I am not alone. Jesus felt very alone and forsaken when He died on the cross for us. He had to be forsaken because God could not be around sin. He could not be with Jesus as He bore all of our sin on the cross. And yet we know Jesus was not forgotten either. He went to that grave and He lay in the grave, and then He was resurrected from the grave. He rose up out of that grave. He was not left alone. God was with Him. And I am so grateful God is with us, and the grave that we face is temporary, both for us and our loved ones that we miss. My mom passed away in 2022 in February the 12th. And so I know that one day she and I will be with our Lord, and we are not going to be alone. And I do not need to fear. Uh, when both your parents pass away, you feel like an orphan, right? It's just you. But you are not alone. Even then, God is with you. The one who created you, the one who thought of you before you were even born, He saw you inside of your mother, inside of her womb. God knew you. He knew every hair that was going to be on your head. He knew all of the places you would go. He knew what kind of job you would have, any illnesses you would have, how many children you would have, who you would marry, what kind of job you would have. God knew all the details. And so you are not alone. You are not abandoned. You are not forsaken. And it doesn't change the heartache that we feel, does it? At times. Just like Job, I think of Job often and how people talk about how he lost his 10 children. They were killed, they were taken from him. And at the end of Job, he has 10 more children. And in a fairy tale, that everything would just be set right and be perfect. But Job was a real man, just like you are listening now with your ears and your brain and your heart, and you have feelings. If I was to pinch you, you would squeal, you would feel it. Job was that kind of man. And just because he had 10 more children did not change the sadness and the ache that he must have had for those 10 children that he lost, that were forever on this earth lost to him. He still had lost 10 children. And so as we think about the the concept of loss, of loneliness, and the heartache that comes with that, may we comfort each other, because connection in a time of loneliness is such a gift. I think about the Bible verse in James that says that pure religion and undefiled before God is this: to visit the fatherless and the widow. There is immense loneliness in being an orphan or being a widow, right? And God wants us to think about them. He wants us to remember that that could be us. It could have been us, but for a little change in who we were born to and our life's path, it could be us in the future. And so we need to think about how we can be a blessing. How can I help someone else to not be so lonely? And by doing that, I prevent my own loneliness. If I'm willing to connect to help someone else's heart, then I'm going to be blessed in return. So look around in your world, in your church, in your neighborhood, in your school, where you work, in your family, who might be lonely, who needs you to call them and spend some time with them, who needs you to go by and visit and just sit and maybe just listen. You don't need to bring anything. Just come by and sit and be willing to listen. I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we have that ache is we need a hug. We need a listening ear. We need someone that says, I love you. You are so special. You matter to me. I see you. I see your work. I see your heart. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your talent. We need that connection. We need that validation. We need to be seen and to be loved and to matter and to have significance. You do have significance, my friend. And so take your significance and share it with someone else. Help someone else to not be lonely. When you are lonely, one of the best ways to overcome it is to go and visit someone. Go visit someone, just surprise them, stop by. Yes, you can maybe take them some flowers or a candy bar or a card, but just stop by and say, hey, I was thinking about you. I was in the neighborhood. I wanted to come by and give you a hug and just spend a few minutes with you. How have you been? And I think about this with some of my friends who've recently lost their spouse, um, and they need us. They need our love. They need us to call. Don't hesitate to reach out. And I want to say, because in this modern day and time, we can text, we can send a message on Messenger, we can send a GIF that says, I'm thinking of you on their Facebook wall. You can reach out and break the loneliness for someone and alleviate that loneliness almost any time because of our modern communication. So I just wanted to share these thoughts with you. And I think of Ecclesiastes 4:12. A three-strand cord is not easily broken. Be that strand in someone's life so that they will know they are loved. They are not alone. They don't have to be lonely endlessly. You don't have to be alone endlessly. And when we intertwine our lives as that three-strand cord, we will not be broken. Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope this episode inspired you to embrace your own God-given purpose. If this episode inspired you and blessed you, would you please share it out with a friend who needs to be reminded of their own significance? And remember to hit subscribe. Until next time, remember to walk in faith, find the joy, and stand in your significance.